Hello and welcome to Bell Curve Gaming to the championship match of the Budget Brawl tournament, which will feature my Scatterstoise deck up against Tempo Rogue's Nuzzlechew deck. Now, I'm not going to lie, going into this match, this is certainly going to be a really tough matchup for my Scatterstoise to deal with. So, when I was actually playing decks and testing decks before we went into the tournament itself, I actually came across this Nuzzlechew deck a number of times with my Scatterstoise, and I made some changes to my Scatterstoise deck because of those matches. It is a winnable matchup, but it's a really tough matchup. But before we get into the matches themselves, let's take a quick look at our two decks in the final. So starting with Tempo Rogue's deck, I think the overall strategy of this deck is going to be fairly straightforward. It's going to be just the usual strategy of turn 1, flood the board with energies using Snuggly Generator, and then from then on out, just really hitting in with Raichus as long as you can, and then finishing off with something like an Electros. I think that will be the overall strategy, especially since this deck is hitting Wishy-Washies for weakness. But one option that I was really struggling with, because I came across this, the Nuzzlechew decks during my testing, was the Dedenne. So Dedenne was causing me an issue because of the ability to snipe away Squirtles on the bench, and we could see that in this matchup potentially coming in the early game if I only get one Squirtle down. So Dedenne just able to snipe away from the bench and be able to take a couple of prize cards early, and the fact that this is also hitting for weakness, that can become a really big issue because this deck might not even need to get into the Pachirisu if I don't get enough Squirtles down. So that's something else that you might see. Another key card as well in this is going to be the Wondrous Labyrinth. Just because I'm a high energy cost deck, the Wondrous Labyrinth is a little bit nervous for me to see in this deck. But taking a look at my deck, the Scatterstoise, there was some changes I actually made from the initial build of this because of Nuzzlechew. So I was coming up across Nuzzlechews on the ladder while I was testing this, and realized I need to make some changes to try and beat the deck because I thought that this might be a popular choice in this tournament. So things that are absolutely crucial for me. I must get 2 Squirtles down turn 1 of the game because the Dedenne sniping is a huge problem for me, and I'm crippled if I can't get Blastoises up. So 2 Squirtles on the first turn of the game is an absolute must, and that's the reason why I've now gone to a 4-1-4 line, because I started with a 3-1-3 line. It has other benefits though. When going to the 4-1-4 line, I don't know why I didn't start with it, because a Blastoise is a legitimate attacker of itself, and a 4-1-4 line just allows you to use it with, a little bit more peace of mind. So, yeah, the 4-1-4 line, the Blastoise, we've got to get that up on turn 2, and we've got to take a prize card turn 2 of the game really in this match. So, it's crucial that we get to our Stoise, we get to a Wishy-Washy and we're attacking. Now you can see that weakness of the Lightning with the Wishy-Washy is a huge problem for us. But another strategy that you might see with this is if we see our opponent start with a Mulga and say a Pikachu down the back, you might see us reach for the Fiona on turn 1 to draw up that Pikachu into the active and make it harder for the, for that Nuzzlechew to flood the board with energy. So that's something to keep an eye out for, and it might be a strategy that I go to if they, bench something that's worthwhile bringing up with just an Emolga sitting in the active. Something else that's absolutely crucial here that I made a change for because of the Nuzzlechew was the 14th energy. So I was originally running this with 13. 14 is just super crucial because we are an energy hungry deck and we've got to be able to attack every single turn of this match. So flooding the energies onto the board is super important, as is finding the Brock's Grit once we get 2 Stoices up. So once we lose 6 energies from the deck, we're wanting to Brock's Grit and get them all back in, and the 2 Stoices hopefully just charging things back up so we can continue taking KOs right through the match. So Brock's Grit is absolutely crucial to hit in on the correct turn and dig out of our deck, as is Chaotic Swell. So if we see that Fairy Stadium, I think what it's called in a sec, hit the field, we need to find our Chaotic Swell to get rid of it. And we can't just put Chaotic Swell down and know that that's not going to actually, have any effect, the Wondrous Labyrinth, because this deck does run Fabber. So they could Fabber out our Chaotic Swell, drop Wondrous Labyrinth down, and that could be a real problem. So timing the actual, playing of that Chaotic Swell and finding it on the right turn is going to be really, really important as well. Like I said, this is going to be a really tough matchup for me. It is winnable, I know that, but it's going to be super tough. So let's see how we go. So, kicking things off, I unfortunately have lost my footage of this match, so thankfully Tempo Rogue hasn't, and we're going to be relying on Tempo Rogue's footage, so... And I'm just going to have to be telling you, or predicting what I actually had in hand, remembering, something like that. Anyway, we can see Tempo Rogue does not have a good starting hand. This is not what you want to see, is Pikachu in the active. Obviously, a Mulga or Pachirisu is probably... You know, the two cards that you want to see in the active if you're running Nuzzlechew, has 8 of them, so has a pretty good chance of starting with 1 of them, but yeah, this isn't good. 4 energies, a Rosa that's not going to be useful at all in this situation, a custom catcher you can't even draw out of just because it's got, you know, way too much in the deck, so yeah, living off top decks, it's not a good start. We can see I'm using the Pokemon Fan Club, and you can see where the priority is landing the second Squirtle down. That's an absolute must in this. And it's going to NG attach the Wishy Washy and pass it over. Top deck's not kind. Top deck's not kind. Custom catcher's probably not gonna achieve too much here. So it's just gonna have to nuzzle and pass it over. So does paralyze the Wishy Washy, which makes it much more awkward to, you know, finish things off right here. So I'm just gonna NG attach Tate and Liza. For the shuffle, just digging for Stoices, really. That's really what we're looking for now. Oh, land a Candy and a Stoice. That is, you know, clutch top decking right there. And then, yeah, just a powerful Squirrel onto the Wishy Washy, pass it over, and, ooh, the Raichu. This isn't good. Gonna have to go with the coin flip nuzzle play again and hope, really hope. This is absolutely awful. Could custom catcher to something else. Can't probably afford to leave the Wishy Washy sitting in the active. So yeah, gonna see the custom catcher play here. Gonna pull in the Stoice, which is also something that can one-shot this. And powerful Spark rather than trying to nuzzle it. It's interesting. And yeah, unfortunately I've got the Tate and Liza. So, a real lackluster game 1. Not something I want to see in these. I really want a cracking grand final, but you could see there just a terrible starting hand on that first hand, and yeah, it's unfortunate. You don't want to see that. But we do see Tempo Rogue going first in the next one, starting with Zapdos in the active. So once again, not who you want to start in the active, but does have Emolga down. So at least we got the Emolga engine cracking. Going first allows, you know, you don't need to get into the Pachirisu this turn. So the Roxy can come into play, draw a, you know, massive hand and really try and dig in for that switch. That's really what you're looking for here. So the advantage of going first is it does just, you know, buy you that extra turn if you're not able to get into the Pachirisu turn 1. So going to see pulling the Pikachu up, popping down the Pikachu, probably energy attached to... it'll be interesting here whether it goes Zappy or Pikachu. No NG attachment at all. I reckon I would have NG attached to the Zapdos just to try and, you know, get that NG count up so you can retreat out of the Zapdos here. Just in case you can't find that switch. So, Anacoms, go and get Squirtle. Like I said, the overall strategy of this is get double Squirtle down. Do everything you can to get double Squirtle down turn 1 because once again the bench spot's open for Dedenne and you know all it needs is a switch and a Dedenne and you're able to, you know, snipe out the Squirtles. So you can see that there's the second Squirtle into play. That's the overall strategy. Going to Jirachi now. And by memory here I was digging desperately for... So we got the Tate and Liza. Digging desperately for Candy. I have a feeling I had Stoice sitting in hand. I can't remember, but I do think I did. So I was really wanting... I might have actually had Pokecoms in hand and had the... had the Candy in hand. I forget now, to be honest. So just going to pull in the Rosa, so if there is a KO on this turn, able to get into Stoice action. This is a big turn for my opponent. Really needs to try and find that switch card that's in the deck. So, going to evolve into the Raichu. Assuming the other two Mulgas just going to pull something out that can really pull out a Roxy turn here. But having said that, needs to find Pachirisu as well, I guess. Yeah, so Switch is in the deck. Shooting this will be just pulling a couple of cards in, really digging in for... Oh, interesting, the energy attachment goes to the Zapdos. I would have just been pulling cards that you can throw away. I would have nearly thrown away the Dedenne. Yeah, I reckon I would have pulled Dedenne out and just thrown it away at this stage. I mean, I suppose it could be another attacker, just a cheapy bench snipe at some stage to pull in a win. But yeah, you really have to Roxy both here, don't you? Both the Pachirisu and a Pikachu, giving up that. Keep in mind that I didn't get off the ideal turn because I didn't have the Wishy-Washy down to be able to start smashing. So certainly not the ideal turn. We see a draw 6, no switches. And what's really awkward about this now is the manual retreat play isn't going to be able to get into a Pachirisu and just flood the Engies either. So the first Engie attachment, like not Engie attaching on the first turn of the game, I think it's going to really come back and bite him. I really think that first Engie attachment needed to go to that Zapdos. So that way you could drop Pachirisu on the second turn, Engie attach the Pachirisu. And then the third turn, if you need to, drop an Engie onto the Zapdos and switch out that way. So we see I've got a Wishy-Washy down now. Missed. I do remember this hand. I did have the board sitting in hand. And I was devastated that I didn't hit the double Engies. Because I would have been taking out the first KO and taking a huge advantage in this match. So, yeah. Went with the reset stamp, really because I seen a draw 6 and I knew that there was a pretty high chance of having Volkner in the hand. Unfortunately, I didn't know that Volkner wasn't in the hand. So, but we have to see a Pachirisu down now to switch, I would have thought. So, the Volkner can go and fetch that. So, yeah, we're seeing the Pachirisu being brought out here. And another Nuzlocke Gathering. Getting more Raichus. So yeah, I'm assuming the Volkner here will go and get that switch play and then flood the board with Engies. Which now means it's going to be a question of whether or not I can stay consistent enough. So I'm in the situation where I need to find that second Stoice. That's got to be the absolute priority. I know I'm sitting pretty with a... It was either a switch or a board that's sitting pretty in hand. Pretty sure it was the board. Yeah, so here comes the switch. And we see the Dedenne. That's an interesting choice. So going with the sniping option to hit out the Squirtle. That is an interesting call. Just hitting out the Squirtle. Hoping that maybe I'm bricked and to buy enough turns to build the Engies up. So maybe the idea is hoping I'm bricked, maybe able to snipe out another Squirtle if I put it down. And yeah, that was a surprise. That was a surprise. I was expecting the board to be flooded with Engies in that turn. So I miss on the powerful scroll here. Can go with the Stellar Wish. I don't think I have any draw. That was something that I didn't have. So yeah, pulling in the Cynthia. Drop another Squirtle. Engie attach. And Cynthia. No, I didn't actually have the board. There you go. I can't remember what I had. I thought I actually had the board or switch there. We do find that though. So we're good to skip over to our Wishy-Washy. Take out the Dedenne. We're actually really happy with our position now. So we know Dedenne's gone for the match. We know our backline Squirtle is fine. We know Wishy-Washy's smashing. And we know that Wishy-Washy can't be one-shotted by that Zapdos unless it can get an absolute ton of Engies into play. So the Zapdos not hitting for weakness. It's one thing that Zapdos does not have going for it. So yeah, we're seeing the Pachirisu play now. Bit surprised didn't see that in the last turn, but there you go. So I'm going to retreat to the Zapdos. Interesting. So maybe trying to get rid of the Wishy-Washy and all those energies here, which we do see. But there's no switches left, so maybe it's going to have to be an energy attached to the Zapdos, retreat to the Pachirisu. Trying to just get rid of the threat off the board, maybe. Or maybe he just didn't realize it didn't hit for weakness. That could be true as well. That'd be an unfortunate error if he didn't realize that didn't hit for weakness. But we've got double Stoice up. That's something that's absolutely crucial now. And this is really what this deck's built to have, that exact thing happen. To have the Wishy-Washy absorb a hit, run to the deck, and then just bring it back out. And hopefully flood the board with energies and just bring Wishy-Washy back. By the looks of things though, we are missing the Wishy-Washy. So we might have to go in and attack with the Stoice, which is the reason why we've got a 4-1-4 line of the Stoice. Just to provide plenty of attacking Stoices and not being afraid to have to try and protect Stoices right to the end. So yeah, that's what we're going to see here by the looks of things. Loading up the Stoice. We want to really try and take advantage of the fact that, you know, we've got a pretty good lead. When I say a pretty good lead, we've taken the first prize card and the board's not flooded with energies. So that's something that's really, really important here. And going with Stoice has benefits as well. So the Stoice doesn't get hit by weakness. So even if a Tapu Koko comes in at this point, we can get 4 energies in. So that's hitting for 80. Which would have been an E-power away from taking out a Wishy-Washy. So we do see Tapu Koko is actually not available, so Tapu Koko is in the prize cards. Yeah, so he's just checking his deck to see what he has got available here at the moment. Really trying to work out his options. I think the best option now is to probably pop down a Pikachu. We can see the Wondrous Labyrinth sitting in hand as well. Can't use that this turn, but just pop down the Pikachu. Snuggly Generator here. Yeah, get rid of the Emolga. That seems smart. Probably pull back Volkner. Yep, good call. Got E-powers for later. So yeah, I would have thought just drop down a Pikachu, Snuggly Generator, and probably Wondrous Labyrinth on the next turn to try and make the energy cost more awkward. I know what I'm looking for here is just Wishy-Washies. Although setting up another Stoice line is probably pretty important. So we do finally see the Snuggly Generator plate. And I now know that this is going to be taking KOs every single turn. So I have a 1 prize card lead. I'd ideally like to make that. Well, it's going to be a 2 prize card lead because Stoice is ready to roll and attack. But now it's just a question of whether or not I can get enough attackers to finish the game. So we're going to need 3 more attackers after this Stoice. So drop and Wishy... so Fiona. And gonna Liza. I think the reason I'm doing that is honestly just to get Fiona out of the deck so I don't draw into it. Because I'm trying to find more Squirtles. I've only got 1 Squirtle left in deck, which is really, really awkward. So yeah, we're going to Powerful Squall here. And at least we've got the Wishy-Washy ready to go on the next turn. We've got Jirachi. We don't want to use Fiona's ability here. The only reason we would is if we found us, you know, a Squirtle. That'd be the only reason you'd use the Fiona's ability at that point. So we're going to lose our Stoice. I'm a little bit worried that we don't have a second, you know, Stoice up. But I'm happy with the fact that we've got 3 energies on our Wishy-Washy already. So really it's trying to find 5 more NGs into play, and we should be pretty good here. But what I'm really worried about though is I know this runs custom catches, and if it's able to go bang bang on 2 Stoices, that could be really bad as well. So not out of the woods just yet, but do have a handy lead. See the poker comms. Not really sure what he was hoping to get out of that one. Can go to the Raichu. I would have thought we would have seen the Wondrous Labyrinth on that turn, to be honest. And the Volkner to go and get another Lightning out. So, got another Pokemon Fan Club out of the deck. And what I'm just looking for is 3 more attackers. That's all we need. Now, Fione's kind of annoying because it's eating up a bench spot. It's not the... It's a situational card of when you want it down, when you don't. So here, there's no benefit to having Fione. But we might need the bench spot, so... At some stage. We do have 1 open. And that's probably looking for a Squirtle. Although we could just go and get a Wishy-Washy straight away. So you can see I'm getting the Brock's Grit because I know I'm about to lose 6 NGs and we need to start flooding the NGs in. And yeah, I'm thinking to myself, I only need 3 more attackers. So if we can get another Wishy-Washy up here, even if they go after the Stoice, we've got the last 2 attackers that we need. So that's the plan at this point. So we are going to use Fione's ability here. Just pulls the Emolga up. And we can see the reason why we're using Fione's ability is because I want to use that bench spot. Go and get a Squirtle up. So I think pulling the Candy in is the reason why I did that, because I had the Stoice sitting in hand by memory. So I just give myself plenty of options. So just 1 NG attachment away from being able to use the other Wishy-Washy. If the Stoice is targeted, that could be an issue. Although we do see the Wondrous Labyrinth still sitting here, which could be a problem. So we're going to see a Volkner pull in a Stamp and a Lightning NG. And going to be stamped here. And at this point, I pull in Rosa and Stoice. I remember that because I sat there and went, well, I've got my Stoice up. This is going to be awesome. So I'm going to have double Stoice. And then I remember seeing this Wondrous Labyrinth hit the field and going, well, Rosa's going to have to, unfortunately, go and get the Calyx Swell. Not going to be able to, get my Stoice up, unfortunately. But I do know my 2 cards. It was a Rosa and a Stoice that was sitting in hand. I think that was the best move that you could do in that situation. Is really drop that Wondrous Labyrinth, start hitting with Raichus, and hope that the NG cost is just too much for me. But like I said, got Rosa and Stoice sitting in hand. And the Rosa can go and fetch the Chaotic Swell, except I top deck the Chaotic Swell. I just remember this part of the game quite well. Yep, there's the Chaotic Swell right there. And I'm like, well, we'll go with Rosa and pull in a Candy for our Stoice. Something I'm just looking at though. Get the NG, so I've got a Wishy-Washy ready to attack. I think I pull in a Wishy-Washy. I should have actually pulled Fione in. Yeah, so there's the Wishy-Washy here. I reckon I should have pulled Fione here right on this turn. There's the second Stoice. Just because I had to be predicting what was coming here, and that's got to be the Electros. So you can see I'm setting up the Stoice just, for the Electros that's about to come in, potentially. Miss on the second Stoice. But Fione would be enough to you know, take out the Electros if it hits the field. So yeah, I really should have pulled in the Fiona on that one. Down to one prize card remaining. A 2 card hand. And we've got rid of the Wondrous Labyrinth, which is another worry of mine in this deck. So we're really happy with that. Gonna see a Reds challenge here. Gonna get rid of the Fan Club and Arachi. So at this point, you would be thinking, yep, custom capture. You've got to get rid of the Stoice and go and get Electros into play. So we're going to see a Pokecoms. Just because the Wishy-Washies can't one-shot the Electros. And it's going to be a question of whether or not I can get another Stoice up. So we do know that we've got the Brock's Grit sitting in hand. So there's a couple of win conditions that we do have. We can try and find our way into Fiona. Or we can try and flood the board with NGs. But it's like flood the deck with NGs. And try and get 3 NGs out. So that's really what we're looking at. There's the E-Power to fix up the numbers on the Stoice. And that's actually really, really important. Because the Stoice doesn't, you know, you aren't hitting for weakness on the Stoice. So, Stoice is taken out here. And does force me to find something else. And that's the reason why Fiona on the board and we're laughing right now. So, we'll chuck Jirachi in. We're looking for... I think we're going to Stellar Wish first here because we're looking for a way into Fiona or flood the deck with NGs. And we've got some time anyway. We've got 2 prize cards, like 2 turns to play with here. So if we're 2-shotting with the Wishy-Washy, that's not the end of the world anyway. So yeah, we didn't have Brock's Grit sitting in hand. That's interesting. So the Jirachi, obviously the Brock's Grit was the best pull that we could get for our strategy. Flood the deck with NGs. And now we're just 3 NGs away from winning it here. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's the 3rd NG. So that's the game right here and now. So GG's to Tempo Rogue. You could see I had a lot of luck there in this matchup. This is a scary matchup, and it's certainly not the way that this would always go. But GG's Tempo Rogue, GG's. And there we have it, seeing my Scatterstoise deck take out the championship match and win my first ever Budget Brawl tournament. Now, obviously it had a huge amount of luck with the starting hands of the Nuzzlechew, but yeah, Tempo Rogue had a fair bit of unlucky times with what he had to deal with. I do want to thank everyone that participated in this tournament and made this tournament a reality. I've had an absolute blast playing in it and putting these videos together. And if you've really enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments below and smash that like button. If there's something you do want to see again, let me know. And if you want to be a participant of a potential future Budget Brawl tournament, join my Discord because that's where I'll likely recruit people from. But like I said, just one more time, I want to thank everyone who's made this a reality. I've really enjoyed playing in it, and I've really enjoyed putting the videos together and seeing a lot of spice in, our first ever Budget Brawl tournament. But until then, we've got a new set of Sword and Shield dropping coming, the coming Friday from when this is being released, and I'm looking forward to featuring some videos in that new Sword and Shield deck, set list. But until then, I'll catch you in my next